need you to squash the concept in your mind that you feeling jealous is the reason why you're crazy, is the reason why you're toxic. It isn't. There's nothing wrong with feeling jealous. And in fact, jealousy is a very, very normal emotion to have. In this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about where jealousy stems from, what it can do to destroy relationships, but also the opportunity that it can bring to you based on how you interpret it and based on what you do with it moving forward. Jealousy is not a feeling that will bypass anyone in this life. Everyone feels it. We will all feel it to different degrees and different extents, but ultimately jealousy comes from your reaction to it, half of it being how you perceive it in your mind and body, and the other half of it being the lack of reassurance from the other person that may have instilled that jealous feeling about you. So I'll tell you briefly a situation that happened to me that kind of I've carried with me, that I've moved forward with in my life. So when I was a kid, my mom dated this man, and this man had a daughter. Me and this daughter were very good friends. We actually got along very well. We bonded very well. We were just like sisters, basically. But the thing that triggered this emotion in me was my mom desperately wanted me to fit this mold. And this mold was something that she was interested in herself. It was a hobby that she really badly wanted me to be good at, right? Because I wasn't really fitting that stereotype with my mom. Like, kids that are born tend to be just different people on their own. You can't force someone to be someone they're not, right? This girl, however, this girl that I was friends with and felt like a sister to, had that thing in common with my mom, had that hobby in common. So I would feel thrown out every single time my mom was bonding with this girl. I was like, holy shit, like, I just feel pathetic, you know what I mean? And I bet you there's a lot of instances where kids will have that story pertaining to their parents, where it had felt like to them in that moment, like they were less than. And it's probably never intended from a parent. Sometimes people are malicious, other times they're not, but when you're jealous, it's because you perceived something as a threat to your connection with someone, okay? That feeling I had, that was my threat, okay? I loved this girl, and I loved my mom, but again, me feeling like I wasn't enough for my mom perpetuated that feeling more and more. As I got older, I had a relationship experience wherein, and I've said this before, I've addressed this a couple times, but I never really got into the full story, was in my adolescence, in my teens. I dated this guy. He threw a party, and mind you, I'd already spent all day with him, and my mom wasn't allowing me to spend the night, to go to this party, so she picked me up right before the party started. And he invited all of our mutual friends to his house, men and women. And the next day, he approaches me at school before my first class starts, and he basically confesses to me, saying that he cheated on me with everyone at that party there. Now, I will never know the full extent. I will never know what he may have done. I don't care to know, it's been some time. But to make the example, that is another situation where, I was screwed over with the relationship I'd had with my mom because I felt like, again, going back to the friend one, that I just wasn't enough for my mom. Like, I wasn't good enough of a daughter. I didn't amount to what she wanted me to be. So, boom, self-esteem crumbled. Same thing with who I was dating at that time. Based on the actions that he did, he made me feel threatened in that relationship because it's like, oh, I wasn't there. I felt threatened because of everyone else that he was giving attention to that night. This is huge, right? And we will all get impacted by it one way or another. But what's imperative about that is not letting it destroy your future relationships, okay? What's done is done. Fortunately, as much as we wish we could go back to certain things and change them, this isn't your fault. there's nothing that can be done. However, the more comforting information I can give you is that you have the power to get over this blockage in your mind. I thought for a while, after experiencing certain things, as well as the two examples I gave just now, that the buildup of emotions I feel, that the emotional dysregulation I feel as a result of what I have not been able to move through is meant to be a part of my identity. Wrong. Because if you're having a conversation with your partner, or if you're having a conversation with your friend, and all it takes for them is to say something to make you, and I hate to say it in this way because it's so painful to go through, but to almost have like an emotional tantrum over it, that isn't healthy. Okay, it's not healthy for the person that you're interacting with, but most importantly, because this whole channel is centered towards you being the best version of yourself and you healing the most wounded parts of yourself. It's impacting you as a person. Jealousy is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds upon. Okay, I know that's Old English, I know that's Shakespeare, but to open that up a bit more, jealousy is destructive in nature. And if you don't know within yourself how to work through that, these situations will never go away. Okay? And the last thing I'd want for myself and for you guys is to keep feeling like this thing has control over you. Because jealousy is a monster. It'll put a mask over you that is tinted green, right? Green-eyed monster. And it will have you perceiving things for not what they are. For me, being jealous is almost like being under a trance. Again, like I said, you can't see things for what they really are. It'll feel like you're under the influence of something, literally. Like, it'll feel like someone's put something in your system and all you know how to do is react. Okay, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the fight, flight, or freeze. Say you were in a plane and turbulence happened, right? We will have those three options as to how we react. And I want you to realize, yes, I say options, but these options feel involuntary. Okay, so someone may fight. They want to take control over the situation. They want it to end. That's how one person may react to turbulence. Flight. So they may just want to get off the plane. Okay, they want to get off. They feel trapped. They just want to flee the situation, right? Freeze will have people shut down in a traumatic situation. They will be almost in denial as it's happening to them. They're like, am I going through this? Because it just doesn't feel real. It's like there's no way that this situation is triggering me this much, right? We all will kind of fit into one of those boxes as far as reacting to things goes. So you need to know that within yourself. Are you fighting the situation? Are you trying to gain control? And if so, how? Because some people that are trying to fight, they just want to fight for themselves in the sense where they want to be able to control their partner, right? There's so many situations I've heard about where a person will get jealous in a relationship and they just won't want anyone else talking to them. And I know that sounds crazy, but again, based on what you went through as a kid, it's valid for you to make that connection. However, what isn't valid is feeling like you are entitled to control them. We need to realize in part what is our fault and what we can move forward with the right person and what that other person is doing that is wrong, perpetuating those feelings and allowing them to come back. You just need to know, are you taking advantage of yourself or are they taking advantage of you? Because again, this is something that happened to me recently. I was just having a conversation with my partner and he brought up like a past experience. Immediately, without realizing, I just shift in attitude, in emotion, made myself question, why am I like this? What am I doing to myself? You'll have someone make you feel jealous, but then the patterns that continue to repeat are because you haven't put a stop to them. Okay? It's like taking a bath and not putting the stopper in. At some point, that bathtub will overflow. Okay? And there is just no worse feeling than feeling flooded in your own emotions. Again, especially in a situation where there was no reason for you to feel like that. Okay, it's just your brain trying to trick you that the thing you're going through is survival, that this is a threat to your connection. You need to talk to, whether it's your family member, your friend, your partner, you need to talk to them and tell them where this came from, okay? It is more valid for a feeling to arise when someone knows the backstory of it. Because keep in mind, imagine you're the other person. Imagine you're the person receiving, this backlash, this like emotional reaction. Like you would be like, what the hell? Like, why are you, like, what have I done, right? Again, we're always going to go back to ourselves. It doesn't matter if someone made us feel that way or if someone's reacting to us, we're always going to go back to ourselves first. Like, okay, what have I done wrong? Or how can this person validate me more? Always go back to that, right? And then, once they have the backstory, okay, the next question becomes, how can I catch myself when I'm in it? Genuinely think if something is able to bother you enough, it's important, it matters because it needs to be addressed. And I don't mean addressed in the sense of feeling it, letting it drain you emotionally, physically, and then just leave it at that. Again, that's like having a bath and not putting the stopper in. What will your stopper be in this situation? I know my stopper in the situation I just had with my partner is coming back to myself and reassuring myself the connection that I have with him. Because whenever we feel jealous, right, we think that there's something wrong with us, that we're not enough, that we don't have enough to offer. But what if you diverted your energy and you reframed it differently, okay? To the point of, how would this person feel if they lost me? What do I have to offer this person? Because, if we're jealous, we're thinking that someone else has the ability to take them away from us. Wouldn't they have just dated them then? I know. Like, that sounds crazy to say, sounds crazy to think, but the more that you can stop thinking about other people who, again, have nothing to do with you and that person's relationship. It's only you and it's only that person concerning your guys' relationship. It's a lot to do with the reassurance you can give yourself, talking yourself out of it, which I'll get into from what I've learned with this book, but also with this book in regards to getting curious. I never allowed myself to feel curious about why I felt the way I did. I just, I wrote it off as like, this is stupid, I'm just a psycho, like whatever, this is my identity. You have a right to healthy relationships. You have a right to, again, feel an emotion, but it's also not fair for you either to let it absolutely consume you and destroy your life. Okay, so you decide where that stopper goes. And the stopper is the stories that we tell about ourselves. In this book, Brené Brown mentions the stories that we tell ourselves based on what we went through. And this is a great communication technique you can implement with your partner to help you further dig deep into these situations that have triggered you in the past and to not allow it to destroy what you have right now. Because again, you could be having a very, very good relationship, but because of what your brain has gone through in the past and your brain's inability to process it so far, you could be jeopardizing yourself and your relationship. So this is how you do it. Obviously, you're in the midst of feeling something emotionally. It hurts. You need to talk to your partner. Either they can see it in you. If they can't, you need to express it to them. This is what happens to me when we talk about this. It makes me feel this way because, and then you talk about what happened, right? You talk about the situation that happened to you. Again, in my instance, I could bring up the party that I didn't go to and then what happened after that. Okay? As a result of this situation, the story that I'm telling myself is, if I do not have all of your time, I don't feel good enough. Or if you give attention to someone else, I don't feel like you care about me, or I feel like I'm going to lose you. Whatever narrative that is, everyone has their own unique story. The more that you know your own story, the better you will be able to navigate the rest of the plot that is to come. But again, if you are blind to your own emotions, if you're blind to your reactivity to things, you will never be able to figure it out. Okay, so part of it is coming to that place of awareness, not only within yourself, but in your relationship too, letting them in on your story so that they can be part of you rewriting that story and moving forward. So with this, you will be coming back to it a few times. Again, this is not something you wake up with one day and you're like all healed miraculously. It takes work. It takes time, just with anything. Like, think about a time where you were heartbroken. Like, you did not just get over that overnight. You worked through it. Okay, you felt your emotions. You figured out what story you were telling yourself during that relationship and after, and you reframed. And it kind of feels like you're faking it at first, but it's the same thing with confidence. It's like a lot of people say, fake it till you make it. With this stuff, it's not necessarily you gaslighting yourself, but it's you just telling the truth and you actually seeing things for what they are, not for what your jealous brain is trying to feed you, okay? Because again, if jealousy could be personified, it would be a person trying to home wreck every relationship you have. That is what jealousy would look like, anyway, to me as a person. Jealousy loves to leech off of insecurities. Jealousy loves to leech off of ruining things. And if in your mind you don't have a place like that existing where it can ruin your perception of yourself, where it can ruin how things look like for you, then jealousy has no place to live. Okay? And I'm going to talk to you about this as well. This is a book I also recommend. It is The Astonishing Power of Emotions, because emotions do hold a lot of power, but there is a specific way to kind of get you to reach into your mind for better thoughts. There are two different kinds of thoughts that we can have as a person, one of them being upstream and one of them being downstream. I may have mentioned this in one of my videos before, but pertaining to jealousy, this is important because when you're jealous, you are questioning your security in a relationship with someone. And again, if you feel insecure within yourself, that's of course going to get perpetuated in that relationship. So, upstream thoughts, you may think it's a good thing that it's going up, but actually you're supposed to be going with the flow, right? Going with the current, not upstream, like not uphill. Upstream thoughts are the feelings and thoughts that we will have surrounding a situation like this. So what you may be telling yourself is, I'm not good enough for this person. Okay, this person has other people on their mind, so what impact do I have in their life, right? I don't feel like I'm pretty enough. I don't feel like I'm attractive enough. I hate how I look today. Okay? Anything that has those similar connotations is you going against the current, because that thought in and of itself is destructive. A downstream thought, it's not necessarily you gaslighting yourself, but it's favored in a way to make you feel better. Think about it as like a cabinet in a kitchen. You'll have the shelf that is easier to reach, but then you'll have a shelf that is a little bit higher up. Okay? What people tend to do in situations like these, and based on the patterns that they have created in their mind over the last few years, is they will go for the most easiest thoughts to reach. So obviously the easiest thing to do is say, oh yeah, whatever, like, it doesn't matter, I guess I'm just not good enough. You grab that thought and you take it with you. Thoughts come and go, but what makes these thoughts dangerous is the belief that we put behind them, right? If you can believe that you're worth something, that you're worth the connection you have with someone, you're not gonna effortlessly reach out, and that's the process behind it, right? For many, many months or weeks past this video, you'll probably still, at times, go to the easier shelf, the things that are easier to grab. But what's different now is you're grabbing from that shelf of thoughts that you're familiar with, but you're looking at the contents of it, okay? You're thinking to yourself, based on the situation that was presented to me just now, are my thoughts surrounding the situation created based on the situation that's actually happening? Is the jealousy I'm feeling valid here? is this a valid place for it to live? Or is this something that has expired, right? Is this feeling that is coming up something that is not even related to the situation, but is just an imprint of what has been left as a result of what I've experienced, right? So it's almost like going into the cabinet, taking an item, looking at the contents of it. Again, when is the expiry date of this? What is actually inside it? Is it good for me to consume? If it's not, throw it out, okay? And once you've gone through that, now you can kind of reach higher up. I know this situation made me feel horrible based on the past experiences that I've felt. But at the very same time, my experiences thus far have not defined me, but they have shown me more of what I want out of myself and what I want out of people, okay? You're still not at the highest shelf, right? Like, you haven't reached that state of, like, I feel good about myself. But hey, you're not here anymore where it's like, I don't feel worthy of love. I don't feel like I'm good enough. Like, these are stupid thoughts to believe and to eat, okay? We're not going to eat that, right? We've looked at it. We looked at the contents of it and where it came from. But that's not who we are. That's not what is defining us, right? That middle shelf now. It's not an upstream thought where it's like you absolutely hate yourself and your life. But it's not a downstream thought either where it's like, I'm at peace and I'm grateful for everything that has happened to me. You're just here in the middle. So what do you feel in the middle of your jealousy? I realized that the way I may have reacted was over the top, but I'm also not going to beat myself up because I know that if this feeling was useless, I would have stopped feeling it a long time ago. I need to address it for what it is, and I also need help from my partner to reassure me. However, I know I also have a job to do here. I also have a job to reframe myself and to be my own muse in the sense of reminding myself that I have a lot to offer. Otherwise, I would not be with my partner. Otherwise, my partner would not see value in me. Again, think about how that partner would feel if they didn't have you anymore. They love you and they care about you, and I do believe actions speak louder than words. Think about what they show you, and let that be a constant reminder every time you're met with this feeling, okay? Because it's only a feeling. It's not sent out to destroy you, but if it does hold that much power in your mind, you will take the steps necessary for it to not affect you in that way anymore. So that's where we are in the middle, right? We're neutral. It's better than feeling crap, right? Then you move past that. You're going and you're reaching for the top shelf thoughts. This was a difficult situation, but I'm very grateful that I went through it, okay? Because it taught me more about my self-worth, that, I don't want to waste precious time feeling the way I do if I know that the way that I feel about myself will be gradually more secure. And I know that as well because my partner knows this vulnerable information about me. They know the stories that I've been telling myself, and I know that they will work through this with me to help rewrite my story and make it more positive. I know that this is going to happen because I see it in my future, and every day I'm looking for steps from the universe, from myself, and from my partner to make this connection around jealousy have more ease in my mind. Do you see how I went from upstream, resistance to the tide itself, neutral, seeing it for what it truly is, to downstream, meeting it where it's supposed to be? It's a process and it takes time, okay? I do not expect anyone, I do not expect myself to get over this overnight, This isn't something where you can take a Benadryl and wake up and then feel fine. This takes time, as it will with anything that has allowed us to feel hurt for years on end. Trust you, and I trust myself to overcome feelings that are destructive. Because anything that has the power to destroy you in this life will just make your life more difficult. And if you know what is making your life more difficult right now, you will know exactly where you are supposed to look for the answers, okay? And a lot of the time they're within you. I hope this video helped you navigate your jealousy and to reassure you as well that this is such a normal feeling to have. Again, it's just not normal when it can perpetuate so much buildup within you when it's a situation that doesn't need your jealousy to be on an all-time high, okay? Don't let it eat you alive. I promise you are worth a lot more than, situations in the past have made you feel. It is just up to you to give them the attention they need, let your emotions be what they are at face value, but also not to consume them. And if you can, always reach for the top shelf thought. Okay? And remember, take reign of your own life.